I remember my fresh graduate experience. For me, it was a moment of relief after 5 years of study. I feel like I finally did it, but not for long. Then I need to find a job, right? In this episode, let's hear from the Barca Effect team on their fresh graduate experience. How they get their first job, how did their colleagues and boss treated them on the first day, and did it go as their expectation? This episode is dedicated to the fresh graduate out there who wants to know what to expect. Yes, the experience may be very or different from a person to another, but you will find value in the discussion. Stick with us until the end. The brothers share advice on what advice they wish they had when they were fresh graduate. Please do subscribe to the channel. The Barakah Effect podcast is a weekly podcast where we dissect the Quran and the Sunnah and turn it into our unfair advantage to gain success here and the hereafter.
ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Kaif halukum?
Ahlan. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah bikhair. Alhamdulillah.
Khair.
Alhamdulillah. All praise and thanks to Allah. So alhamdulillah, our topic of discussion for this evening is something a bit different. So we're going to go a bit personal, and our topic is my fresh graduate experience, the good, the bad, and the
Meh.
meh. Right. So inshallah, what we'll be discussing is our own respective experiences on what we experienced as fresh graduates, whatever our first jobs were. And the objective of this session is basically so that we can share our experience, what we felt really stood out, and use this discussion as sort of a reflection among us and also within ourselves, what capabilities we feel are most important towards fresh grads, and what can you learn from the good things or the mistakes that you've encountered along the way. And also, I think one of the key things is, inshallah, throughout the years that will be still contributing to the workforce, how can we create good experiences to get the best out of our fresh grads, right? So just have a bit of a casual discussion, inshallah. So let's start off by this. So our first day reporting for duty, or maybe the first week. So let's just share within ourselves, like, what do you remember most about your first day or your first week at work? Like, what did you go through? How did you feel? And maybe what experience stood out for you? So for this, inshallah, let's get Brother Amir to share. Tafadhal,
Okay.
Sheikh.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. MashaAllah. Very nice topic. Yeah, you bring back a lot of memories. Been 15 years since my first day at work. Yeah, MashaAllah. Seems just like yesterday.
Oh, mashallah.
So I got employed to this company, which I was really seeking, was really hoping to land a job since
Okay.
my uni years. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, I got a job there. Yeah. So my first day at work, I've never been outside of Malaysia before that. So they booked me a flight to Libya in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Oh, wow.
So I took a flight. I took a few flights, few connecting flights, and then once I arrived in Tripoli, then they put me on a Fokker, a really old airplane. Yeah. Then then we took another like a 2-hour flight, right in the middle of smack in the middle of the Sahara Desert. So the scenery was nice. This is an adventure, this is what I really signed up for. This is
Okay.
gonna build me as a man. And I'm up for this. Yeah.
Okay.
Once I arrived to the mini airport, then it took me on a pickup through the sand dunes. There was like almost 1 hour of driving. Yeah. It was
Wow.
through the dunes. Was okay. Nice experience. There was no camel, but it was something different. But the first thing came to my mind when we arrived at the base was that base was all heavily guarded with police and soldiers. So,
Oh,
what is
right.
this, man? So we have like soldiers holding guns and everything, to guard our facilities. Okay, mashallah. Okay, all right. Then I came in, see the bosses. They treat me well. They say, where you from? Malaysia. And you know how Arab people sometimes they just like Malaysian people. Like, oh, then they start talking about KLCC. They talk about some computer stuff. Yeah. So there's a cliche that all Asian they must like IT gadgets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, and some guys like can do. Oh,
That's a
Malaysia,
stereotype, huh?
Asia. Oh, Jackie Chan.
Jackie
But
Chan.
is that supposed to be the link that we are supposed to be brothers because of this Jackie Chan? You know? No, not Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan, Hong Kong, Malaysia. then they give me all my overalls and get me started on the induction. So then
Just for
I see.
context, you graduate as an engineer, not in the army, right?
Yes, as an engineer.
Okay.
As an engineer,
You
indeed.
just had to point that out, just in case. Okay. Okay. All right, go on.
Because so along the way, the taxi driver was saying, "Oh, life is hard here. Life is hard. Yeah, you better make sure you buck up for this. Yeah, be tough. Be strong. Okay. I came to the base. Yeah, then during it was lunchtime. Yeah, so I see one of the guys was like eating on the floor without anything, without any plates. So I said, wow, this is really, man. This is like back to the barbaric. Come join us. Okay, I'll join you. And then after that, I saw the guys like trimming his nails using like not nail clipper but wire cutters. Oh, mashallah! What is this, man? and where I work, they try to expose you to a lot of different tasks. Yeah, so you're supposed to be like an operator first. So you work with all those heavy tools. Yeah, and there's a hammer that's as big as myself. And it's really heavy. It's like I think almost 50, 60 kilos. Yeah. So I hold with both hands just to hit a very big bolt and nut. Yeah. Start.
Oh, wow.
But this guy,
you actually use that for the job, huh?
Use it for the job.
Oh, it's not the gym, huh?
Inshallah.
It's not a gym.
Doubles up as a gym.
They don't need gyms.
Okay.
So apparently one guy, my operator, with ease hold that heavy tools with just one hand, and he hit the nail or whatsoever, yeah. Just like just like a racket hitting a shuttlecock. Yeah?
Oh, wow.
I'm like struggling how to stabilize the whole giant hammer. It's probably the biggest hammer I've ever seen in my life. You know? It was a culture shock for me, like getting exposed. Like I know oil and gas is very hands-on, but I didn't expect it to be this kind of you gotta really sweat it out, you know, like
yeah, I didn't expect that also. Wow.
So mashallah because it was a vendor, the company was a contractor. So and they go through everyone needs to go through the training regime, and you start at the lowest food chain as an operator before moving yourself up as an engineer. So that was a culture shock for me, doing all those. It was nice. It was a good experience, but it was definitely out of my comfort zone on the very first day.
Wow. That's interesting.
Mashallah.
Okay. Very good. Okay, yeah, let's hear from somebody else. Maybe let's hear from Aziz.
Oh, me?
How was your first day or first week?
First week after graduate, my first job was I was a driver.
Wow.
Yeah,
mashallah.
And you also graduate engineering. Actually, almost all of us graduate engineering. So your degree was
electrical engineering.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, just to get just to get myself to have a job, because I think for me, because I graduated with a low grade, right? My confidence to get a job in an engineering area is quite low, but somehow I just worked there for 2 months. But it's quite tough because if anyone know Miri to Bintulu is like 300 kilometers, right?
Mashallah. Were you with Uber?
I drove I think 2 trips per day.
2 trips per day.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Subhanallah. Miri to
Because
Bintulu?
yeah,
Mashallah, mashallah.
the company, I think it was a contractor to an oil and gas, the biggest
Oh, I
oil and
see.
gas in I think in Malaysia. So they were very strict. You have to drive only 80 kilometers per hour. You imagine
Oh
I
man.
drive 300
How long did it
kilometer.
take you?
Mashallah. And then,
Torture.
but
Wow.
the first day, I drove 120 kilometer, and I was about to be fired the next day because I drove the operation manager from the boss was from Argentina.
Oh.
Yeah, they need someone to uh, that can speak English, not fluent. I'm not fluent anyway, but they need someone to that
Communicate
can
basically.
communicate with the foreigners. So
Right.
that time I was the one who was stand out from the other guys lah.
Oh.
So
Oh,
but
mashallah.
yeah, alhamdulillah, the pay was okay, but the job was tough. I have to drive to rural area because they were doing this how what they call seismic data acquisition. I think Amir
Oh,
no,
okay.
Faisal no.
Mashallah, yes.
Yeah, they were studying if there were any minerals on the land of the Borneo.
Mm.
Yeah, and then after 2 months, I got an interview. Got an interview. A company that offered me an electrical engineer job, and my schedule to interview was 3 p.m. But I only arrived at, I think it was 7 p.m. because I was on the third trip from Miri to Bintulu.
Wow.
The third trip,
Wow.
mashallah.
Subhanallah.
Hush. When I went there, I was exhausted. So, but alhamdulillah, it was easy for me.
Alhamdulillah.
And
Alhamdulillah.
the job was to do a rural electrification job. So because they look at me, they know I explain about my current job as a driver. I drive that, and then they take that chance because they need someone who can go to the rural area, drive, and so that was my first experience.
Mashallah.
Oh.
Yeah, and not much. The boss was very motivating.
Oh, okay.
Before any meeting, he will give this some 5 minute speech to give high aspiration to everyone. I
No
like the
way.
boss.
That's rare,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Mashallah.
that's rare. You know
Mashallah.
why? You know why it's rare? Right now
Ah.
he's running. He's running for politics right now.
Okay.
He has a talent in
Got
Yeah,
motivating
talent,
he's
people.
a
yes.
talent. Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
yeah,
Okay, mashallah.
yeah. I think
Yeah, that
he
is quite
was
rare actually.
the best boss. Yeah,
Oh,
best boss
mashallah.
in until
Mashallah.
now.
Oh, you don't hear that every day.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. Even after you left the company, yeah.
Yep.
So this
Right
was
now,
your second company, or still the first one within the 2 months, is it? This
second company.
second company. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Mashallah. Mashallah.
I think not much.
Okay, mashallah. Jazakallah khairan. So Syahmi, I think you have a bit of a unique experience compared to the rest of us. So you're definitely not you're not graduate engineer, right?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. Although I did learn food engineering, does that count?
Food engineering.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like
We
food
engineer
engineering or food?
food with a D.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, food engineering. It's a really different kind of engineering lah. So we deal with food and all that stuff. Most of them, unfortunately, I most of it I forgot about
Okay.
those stuff, and so I need to do some revision. So anyway, on to my experience. Right, we were talking about personal experiences as fresh graduates.
Yep.
Yeah. So Before anything else, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So, my fresh graduate experience, it wasn't something that is full of events. Rather, it for me it might be dull. But just for the sake of sharing, I graduated in the late 2014, I suppose, and I applied almost everywhere. I applied to Burger, Nestle,
I see.
so I even applied to work for work at, and I also applied to all those fast food chains, including the. So it was quite a long journey. Because the wait itself is torture, because in this day and age, it's not easy to find jobs. Even back then, even 10 years ago, it's already hard to find jobs, right?
Sure.
I was although back then I already delved myself into Sunnah and the Sunnah and learning the Deen, but I wasn't committed. Although I went to a few classes such as that is held by Al Maghrib, and
that's where we met, right?
where I met Brother Faisal, mashallah, and a few other brothers. So yeah, that was the time. So I was looking for jobs, but when I finally got the job, I received an email from the admin of, which goes under the name of. But interestingly, I got married first before I started my work. So alhamdulillah, I got married first, and then I started my work. Yeah. In fact, it was the following week or 2 weeks after my marriage that I started working. If I can remember clearly.
Right.
So the first day when I started working with, I thought that I would, food. We handle food, and most of the laboratory works that I do was involving my hands, deep inside some sort of a dough, or mixing some syrup with water, stuff like that.
Do you get to eat pizza every day?
Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get.
That's
I'll
the
get to
$1 million question.
Okay.
So, so I was expecting, these are the things that these are the menu, and then I was expecting, on the first day maybe there's some sort of a taste test, something like that. I don't know, just my imagination, right? But then unfortunately, no, that didn't happen until later in the next month or so. So instead, I was introduced to the team, to the department. I was hired in the learning and development department, the department of L&D, as they said.
Okay.
So the department specializes in training managers. They train managers. So that is why it had Stephen Covey posters everywhere in the department itself. So you have seven habits of highly effective people everywhere. In every bookshelf there's at least one copy. But I being my ignorant self back then, I didn't know who this was, and frankly, I didn't really care.
Okay.
This is like what Ustad Abdurrahman Hassan said. Yeah, this is madhar min madahir dunul himma. This is one of the signs of low aspiration. So I was pardon? Yeah, because
how so?
I didn't. Yes, yeah. I I did not want to anticipate in any of this. How do you say this? Managerial process that goes through
Okay.
in each meetings. So I would listen attentively, but I didn't care for myself to give any ideas or contribute to any of the discussions.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just okay.
You're
Okay.
sort of like a passenger kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So, but one thing I would like to highlight is the culture shock that I told you guys about last week, right? So the culture shock is this: because this was my first job, and I did not work prior to any of that. Prior to my job in, so the work there, the how should I say this? Because I am aware of the Sunnah, just a small percentage of Islam back then.
Yep.
So, but I didn't. I was not. I was really afraid with the culture there, because once a week they will have this some sort of a team building activity weekly. It's a weekly thing.
Okay.
So you get to play like on top of the rooftop of the HQ. So we all go there, and then we would play like hide and seek or something, or maybe we would dance or something like that. This thing, astaghfirullah, it doesn't, it does not make me feel good at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and then you have the dancing part, right? So the dancing part, you'd have husbands and wives, which are by the way, the husbands and wives are not husbands and wives per se, but yeah,
Not to each other.
not to each other, but so that helped us. They would hold hands and stuff like that.
Awkward.
This kind of these things, it really made me felt really bad about myself. Why did I choose this work? But that's the bad side. The good side is I found a brother who also works there. He works as the first halal executive. So he also got the job. He was hired during the same time as when I was hired. So when I talked with him, alhamdulillah, he's a Salafi, I would say. He's a Salafi. Of all the places I found him there. And he studied in Morocco before, in one of the universities in Morocco, so he could speak Arabic, and so that to me was, there's a balance lah.
Right.
There's the bad, and also there's something good that reminds you of your deen every now and then, right? In that organization, and I would find him in the surau. So I feel in my heart, I really felt, alhamdulillah, I feel lega lah in Malay. So this was some of the things yang, this is generally speaking lah. Of course there are more details, the specifics, but yeah, we will hear from the other brothers, inshallah. First,
you still keep in touch with him?
Yeah, we do. I have his WhatsApp and also Facebook. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, mashallah. Mashallah, how Allah brings people together from unexpected places, huh?
Indeed, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And alhamdulillah, he's also not with now. He's working somewhere else, and he's also a halal some sort of a halal consultant. Yes.
Yeah.
Consultant for companies.
I was thinking about what you said about this team building thing, right? You see, on one hand, it's kind of rare for employers to do it, like to actively organize things that foster this kind of collaboration, this optimism, this kind of working level spirit. So on one hand, you can see the positive intent of that. But from the Islamic values point of view, this is where we have this kind of headache, right? So,
indeed.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I always have this kind of dichotomy, is like, in the sense that you want to achieve that, but you also have to be very careful about the boundaries that you have to take care of. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough thing, I mean, to
how
get
do you deal with that
sweet spot? Yeah, that's true, man. How do you deal with how do we deal with that?
Actually, do not participate. No.
Because to change the whole concept of their interpretation of team building is to change the whole organizational culture of the organization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole
it is
thing from the root up. You have to change everything.
Yeah,
But team
subhanallah.
building is essential. Yeah, team building. It's just that how
Yeah,
what
of course.
method you use for team building. Yeah, that I think they can definitely improve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think like my organization, they do this quite often. Yeah, and sometimes the method that they use is also like that. Like what Brother Syahmi mentioned. So I
Yep.
think sometimes I don't participate in things which are a bit questionable and awkward. And they know Amir is not gonna participate in this and that. Yeah, so I just make it known upfront that I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah.
Inshallah, yeah, I see.
Yeah, subhanallah. Those are actually one of the greatest ni'mah about working in Malaysia, because people kind of understand the Islamic values, and I think the beard is a huge advantage. So
Indeed.
Like
You don't
it's
need
like
to
an
explain
early
yourself too
warning
long.
sign.
yeah. I mean, when they do the like typical team building games, like to like hold hands and hula hoop kind of thing. So you're like, I'm always gonna hide with the brothers in a corner somewhere.
Sometimes they point out,
yeah, I get it.
Aziz, Aziz, this guy cannot. You go to your brothers there. Yeah.
They accommodate with that. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
realized that a lot of the team building facilitators, especially if they're Muslim, that even though sometimes they themselves do it, but they can recognize and respect your preferences of staying away. So I think that's a huge advantage about working in this majority Muslim environment.
Sahih.
That's right.
I would say so.
And,
Yeah.
and also one thing that made it harder for me, I think, is because the bosses, my supervisor, and even the HOD, the head of department, they were all non-Muslims. They were the Chinese and Indian, and even the Malays. My colleagues, they were not religious, so to speak.
Right.
So it made it hard for me, and everyone was doing it. So if I'm the black sheep, right? So
party pooper, huh?
yeah, the party pooper, right? Oh, you want to get all wise on us or something like that.
Sure.
It's hard, especially a fresh graduate. Just
That's
hired
true.
for his first job.
Yeah,
so I don't know how to
leverage.
Yeah, I don't have the leverage. So may Allah forgive us all.
I mean,
Inshallah.
yeah, that's challenging. Wow. Yeah, so Reza, talk to us about your experience. I think you started off outside of Malaysia, didn't you?
Yeah, mashallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I started out, like you said, outside of Malaysia, but it was not a job which I studied for, basically. It was just a casual job.
So you graduated in electrical as well?
In mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering, okay.
So the plan was to stay, I was studying in Australia, and the plan was to get my residency.
Fair dinkum, mate. You still got the...
right. You're right.
You got the PR, right? So you got to have the slang, right? You got to bring something home, man.
That's one thing that didn't stick with me. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, okay. Okay, sorry, go on. Yeah. So what was the job? It was different from what you graduated from?
I the first job was actually as a barista for quite some time, for like almost a year.
Wow.
While I was looking for a proper job. Yeah. So, but alhamdulillah, I think that job also exposed me to quite a number of things, such as like customer service and around. Yeah, just it's kind of relaxed kind of job, but actually, there's a lot behind the scenes. In every cafe, there's always some drama behind it. So it's things that that's what I experienced during my, like, let's say a year stint while I was looking for a job that was in line with my qualifications, I would say. So I was quite okay doing that. I mean, it was paid well. I had good coffee every day.
MashaAllah. That's the most important thing. That's the important thing.
At least.
Yeah, it was quite a nice job, I would say, at that point of time and at that age.
But you already
but
graduated at this point? Like
yeah,
you
at
already
this
had
point
your
I was
degree?
graduated. Yeah, but I was waiting for my residency, and I was like,
All right, the PR. Because you got to wait for the visa to come. Then you can. Okay, yeah, I
So you
get it.
gotta wait
Okay.
like a year or something like this. So I'm like, okay, fine, let's wait.
Okay. No
Right.
urgency.
So
Okay.
yeah. So actually, I didn't even plan to come back to Malaysia, but after I got this specific offer, there was a career fair in Melbourne where I was at, and they
Oh.
were looking for graduates, and it was a Malaysian, let's say, uh, community organized career fair. So a lot of companies from Malaysia was there. So
Oh,
one
okay.
of my subsequent companies was there, and they offered me a job, basically in Malaysia, and it looks on paper like quite a good thing and something that I would go for. So after
Oh.
some time, I thought about it and said, okay, let's just try it out, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, so what happened was then I just packed up my stuff. It was like I think a month's notice or something like this. Packed up my
Oh,
stuff,
okay.
all my things. But I was so unplanned in this time, and I was assigned in my first assignment was in a facility or a plant that was like the furthest away that you can think of
Oh.
from any big city. So I was so bad at planning at this time. I'm like, perhaps like how not to turn up at your first job. This is like a big lesson.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
how so? How so?
I packed up my whole life basically in two suitcases. I didn't have a proper plan. And I called the HR and said, okay, you contact this person when you reach. That's
Oh.
all I had, or just one number at which I don't even know who it was. And I just,
Okay.
okay,
Wow.
I'll just call this guy when I reach the place. So I just booked my
Wow.
flight.
This
And
was
I
in
had to,
Australia.
yeah, in Australia. So
Okay.
I came back to Malaysia, I booked my flight, stayed with a friend a couple days in KL, and then just set off on that journey on a bus to
Okay.
I don't know what to expect in this like a small town. And basically I just called the person up just the day before. Like I said, okay, I'm coming down, can I crash at your place for a week? Well, alhamdulillah, it was very nice. I won't forget what he did for me. He was like, okay, sure, you can come and crash for as however long that you want, you know, so until you find a place on your own. Because he was the
Okay.
same,
Mashallah.
he was the same, let's say, in the same program as I am, but he just came to the place about 6 months before. So
Okay.
he understood the whole experience, and
Oh,
he
okay.
knows what to expect. And so alhamdulillah, so I set off on a bus,
Okay.
yeah, and then when I reached the place, I contacted him. I crashed at his place for a week, and I basically just tailed him for a week lah. But
Ah.
Was that
alhamdulillah,
the East Coast?
it's quite good. Sorry,
East Coast ke? Is it in?
it is in the most southern tip of Peninsular Malaysia, in Pontian actually.
Oh,
Oh, I
okay,
see. Wow.
okay.
Yeah, Sheikh, to be honest with you, I was half expecting you to say that somebody put a bag over your head. Then,
Oh.
but
I would
okay,
have
okay.
expected that from Amir's story lah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. I would have expected that from that. Yeah, that gave me the idea actually.
So yeah, I was totally
Oh,
unprepared.
sorry. Yeah, so that means you never actually like after the PR, you never actually like stayed over
No,
and worked as
because
an
I
engineer.
just
Oh, okay.
decided like there was that offer on one hand, and I
Oh,
was thinking to myself, and I asked people around me like, it was like Syahmi said also before, it was, I mean, can be quite tough to look for a job as well at the point of time as well. I
I see.
think, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was not a good time. The economy in Melbourne also was not doing good at that point of time. So
Now, what year was this?
I think it was 2012, like
Okay.
post economic crisis.
Okay.
Something like this. Yeah. So yeah, I just like, let's say I just took the job and then just went with it.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, the first day in the place, the power plant, I'd say like, I mean, like, initially I didn't know what to expect, but I was quite surprised. Like, wow, this is quite a massive facility. and there's a lot of huge, big, heavy machineries around, and mashallah.
Can't be as big as Amir's hammer
I
lah.
think I can get used to it.
10 times bigger.
not Amir's hammer lah.
So this was what, a gas power plant, was it?
This was a coal power plant.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Oh,
okay.
cool. Oh,
Yeah. So I was introduced to the team. Basically, they enrolled us in like a engineer development program, which was supposed to last for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, rotating between departments every, let's say, 8 months or so.
Oh,
And
okay.
So initially, I was placed in the balance of plant department, where it's all the auxiliaries and all the water treatment plants under our scope.
Utilities
and all. So my first team, I would remember, they're quite welcoming, mashallah, and they were all accommodating.
Wow,
And my boss was also quite supportive. Although he didn't say much, but he always encouraged, give words of encouragement. So
mashallah, that's great, man.
with that, I would say I had like a high spirits coming into the job in the first few months, basically. So
few months?
yeah, until it tapered off. Basically, I was just like, okay. I mean, the whole company had a good plan for us and on a high level, but then on the working level, there was no really such plan, I would say. So it's every what you would want to do, and like it's basically up to you.
Okay, you gotta figure it out yourself.
You gotta figure it out yourself.
Okay.
So so what I did was just, I didn't know what to expect and what to do on the first weeks, and I just basically became the annoying one, just followed everyone.
Everyone done that before.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
So looking back, how do you feel about that? Like being the annoying one? What does that mean? Like just asking them questions? Like
yeah. I mean, just asking them just about everything under the sun. Yeah, I mean, just basically, I was just excited to just go around the plant. That was my whole thing. Yeah, I mean, alhamdulillah, they were all quite accommodating. They're all quite nice people. And overall, the environment was quite laid back.
Okay.
The whole place. So alhamdulillah, that was quite a good first few months. But one thing I would say, because the environment was quite laid back, I got sort of sucked into the laid back environment, which became like, okay. So I'm like, I don't have to do as much after the first few months, But that's one thing that I learned. As a fresh graduate, I think you should have a plan. That you should be aware of the culture of that place, and despite the culture, you should have your own, like, say, direction where you want to go. So looking back, I didn't have that. Basically, I was just jumping in without knowing what was going into. But I guess as an advice to people who are entering the workforce, have a plan and be aware of the company culture and do your own thing, I would say.
Yeah, Chef, that's a very good. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Was there any bully culture for newly hired?
No, actually, everyone there was, I don't know, some level of everyone was nice.
Super nice.
Super nice. Like I'm like, okay, quite a good place.
Mashallah, this is a very dreamy company. No one bullies. No one bullies.
That's right. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. I mean, I guess because the workforce also, like, everyone knows everyone, and there's no point, and it's not such a big workforce as well. It was like a few hundred people, but everyone knows everyone, and everyone's like accommodating, and like everyone says hi everywhere. So
that's
quite
nice.
good. Yeah, inshallah.
Mashallah. Actually, that's a very good point about the culture thing. But I realize one of the challenges is that if you are in that culture, it's kind of difficult to see through what's good and what's bad, because that's basically your entire experience.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us, like, I agree with what you said. Like, when we look back, we can probably pick up those points. But back then, it was really difficult to see through the fog, because you were
you were in the forest, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
then
in
when
the
you
forest,
want
yeah.
to assimilate to the whole working group, it's like you are becoming part of the whole team, and it's like indirectly it has an influence on you whether you like it or not. I would say,
Yeah, wow, mashallah.
yeah.
Yeah, very good experience,
In
mashallah.
general, yeah. What about your first?
That's right.
Yeah.
experience, Faisal?
Okay, mashallah. So yeah, my first company as a fresh grad is basically the same company that I was in right now. So mashallah, it's
MashaAllah.
so it's quite interesting. So I had a similar experience to Reza. So I actually took the interview in Australia when I was studying there. So they were looking for graduates overseas. And interestingly, during that batch, there were not many people who went for the interview. So I think that's one of the reasons why I got the job, because nobody went for the
really?
interview. So there wasn't much competition. So what's so funny was that one of the interview questions was like, "Do you mind if we send you to East Malaysia or like Sabah, Sarawak?" And I said, "No, I want to be in KL." Yeah, this young punk, right?
Putting my foot down.
Right? No, I want to be in KL. Right?
What year was that, Akhi? What year was that?
2007, 2006 actually, 2006.
Inshallah, 14 years ago.
Yeah, wow, it is 14 years.
Yeah. Time flies.
Time flies. Subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
So yeah, I came back. So it was a bit of a long story. So I actually similar to Reza as well. I actually applied for Australian PR. I actually got it. And I
MashaAllah.
also worked odd jobs like Reza as well. Not as cool as barista. Actually, it's a bit cooler. I was delivering newspapers.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really boss, isn't it? And then in the weekdays, I worked in Tourism Malaysia as an office clerk. So yeah, I was
Wow.
working 2 jobs. Yeah, because it was not cheap, living in Australia, Reza, you would know.
Yeah.
So but after I got my PR, and then basically, long story short, I went back to KL, and then then I followed up on the offer, and then I got the offer. So they told us to go to KLCC, and when I saw the Twin Towers, and when I saw the offer letter, it says Miri Sarawak. I'm like,
Oh.
So yeah, East Malaysia. I've never been there. So, clearly, the interview
What came up into your mind when hearing that?
I don't know, man. I guess I was spoiled. I just want to be in KL, KL boy, city boy.
Yeah. It's happening, God.
I was totally not Amir, man. I was not ready for hammers, man. so yeah, that was quite interesting. So it was the first day they said report duty in KLCC, even though I was supposed to go to Miri. So I still remember, like, the day before that, it was a Sunday. So my mom was like, "Hey, you should pack your bags to go to Miri. You." And I said, "No, ma, don't worry. The offer letter says go to KLCC." "Yeah, but you don't know. Maybe suddenly you have to go to Miri." How? "Oh, okay, ma. Then I just pack, just keep my mom happy. So I went to the KLCC, the Twin Towers, and then mashallah, it was quite a big batch. So that time they were really aggressively recruiting people in. So it was, I think, about 40, 50 hours. And some were supposed to go to Sabah, some to go to Sarawak, some supposed to go to Kerteh. So they were like, yeah, the first day is all orientation, and we got from different regions. So I was like, yeah, see, no worries, right? So they had their orientation. And then I think 1 hour or 2 hours after that, said, okay, so for those of you who are stationed in Miri, please go to the airport now. What?
Now?
Wow.
Now?
Like now.
Yeah, so you gotta be in the airport in like 2 hours or something like that. So,
Oh my God.
so I called my mom and like, yeah, I gotta swallow my ego a bit. Yeah, ma, you're right. So I went to the airport. So really rushed, and then we went to Miri. So the next day, I think that was really effectively my first day. So Alhamdulillah, because we were quite a big batch, there was about 18 of us, almost 20 of us. So it was quite big. So just for our batch, the HR department organized like this whole week orientation thing. And it was really, really good actually. So they explained like what the business is, what other departments do. And I just got to know later on that other new fresh grads who joined the company, they were not privileged to this kind of thing. So yeah, alhamdulillah, we got a pretty good experience. And just like Reza as well, what this did is this really like give us this passion, like, yeah, let's go do stuff, especially like the impression about how contributing to the nation. Because the big word about the company at that time was the word amanah of the country. So we were like ready to yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to work. And they arranged the program really nice. Like the end of the week, we had a lunch with the managers, and I had a really good first impression because in corporate world, you think that bosses are bosses, but that was the first time I saw managers who were pretty humble. They were not so loud. They were pretty soft spoken, and the managers drive kanchil, wira. They're not flamboyant kind of characters. So that was a quite
Were
good
you were you
exposure.
watching The Office during your study years?
I probably was, yeah. Yeah, that's probably what skewed my expectations.
Dwight.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a
So
Dwight
yeah,
somewhere.
we had a good first run. So after the first week, then they sent us off to our departments. That's when the real work started. So we went off our department, and then so like in my department, I think it was about 10 of us. So the acting head at the time, he assigned the jobs. So like, okay, you are mechanical, so you go on this section. You are mechanic. You on the electrical. You go to this guy. So it was just me and one more colleague. So he looked at us and like, "What's your degree again?" I said, "Chemical engineering." Huh? Chemical engineering.
What do we do?
What shall I do with you? Like,
What?
Are you kidding me? You hired me. You had no idea what to do with me. I thought we're like Fortune 500 company. You don't know what to do with me. So that was a very funny first impression. So he was like, he was genuinely thinking. It wasn't a joke. He was like, chemical. Okay lah, I'm going to send you to mechanical. Is that okay? I don't know what to say.
Do I have a choice?
I don't have a choice. Exactly right. So I went for it. But he did. I did stay there for very long. So then I moved to another boss. And then I was moved to my actual work, which was process engineering. And that was when I experienced my first supervisor and my first boss. So my first supervisor, she was the only senior in the team at that time. It was a very small team. It was about 5 of us. She was the only senior. And I'll never forget the way she treated me. So here I was with a few of these assignments. Absolutely no idea what to do, man. I was completely clueless because I was detached from engineering for a while. So I was like, I went through all the standards, I went through all the stuff. I still didn't understand what it is. So I went to a place and I'm like, Kak, can you...
Oh, Kak.
Yeah, Kak. Yeah, we had this Malay thing, right? Kak, I have a question. Can you help me with this? And she was like, I don't have time for you. You should know this stuff. This is so basic. I'm so busy doing other things.
God.
And then she said that without any remorse. And she left the company and I haven't met her for a few years. So she said without no remorse, she went back to the computer. Okay. I know I should know this, but it's because I don't. That's why I'm here, right? So that was quite a trauma, man. But I mean, at the end of the day, that taught me something. The thing is, you still have to do your work. So, and you still don't know how to do your work. So I had to make friends with my consultant engineers. So one of the things I learned was that, so they submitted some stuff. So I was the client, right? But here there was this 1 month, 2 month experienced guy, absolutely no idea what I was doing. He was submitting his documents. So I called him, I'm like, bro, you know what? I have absolutely no idea what you submitted to me. Can I go to your office? Can I go to your office, sit down with you, you explain to me step by step what you did? He said, yeah. And I made friends. So I learned from him. I got a good relationship from that. And I actually did that for a lot of times. So this was a time where the staff base wasn't so many, but the workload was huge. So back then the oil price was pretty good, but the staff wasn't so many. So we had so much stuff to do, and I kept doing that. So every time I had work to do, I'll just call them up, say, can I go to your office? Can you explain to me what you did? And I kept doing that. And I realized that even when I could understand how to do things, I still did that. And it's such an important skill to do, because if you keep yourself on the ground, consultants actually appreciate clients trying to get on the same wavelength with them. And people think this is a sign of weakness, because I realized that I'm the only one who did it in my team. But that really got me a lot of edge in terms of understanding the nuts and bolts of how they did that, and also basically getting to know the consultants end as well.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I would advise people, like, that just keep, it's okay. Like, you don't understand, just ask for help. don't be afraid to ask for help, and you just humble yourself. Have this kind of white belt mentality. And I have to admit, it doesn't work all the time. Just like that senior that bashed me, I also had a consultant who once actually said to my face, he said, "I'm not paid of my man hours to babysit you guys." So,
Wow.
but it's okay, man. You gotta. I mean, at the end of
Gradually
the day,
self-esteem, yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite. It hurts, but at the end of the day, you have to earn your paycheck. So you gotta. I mean, all these things, it hurts, but you have to sort of plow through that.
Sahih,
So
mashallah.
Yeah, we have to absorb. Yeah.
Wonderfully
Yeah.
put, mashallah.
Yeah.
From the
Yeah,
consultant
yeah.
It's
side,
interesting you say
I
that,
would,
yeah. Because like in my first job, yeah, they
Yeah.
have this motto in the company, yeah. Even though they didn't loud it out, but it's a silent thing everybody knows. It's like every man is an island.
Every man is an island.
That's right. So you
Wow.
just got to survive by yourself.
Isn't the phrase the other way around?
So you're for yourself. Pretty much that's what they teach you. Yeah. So even in terms of jobs, yeah, like for instance, because we earn some commission from the jobs we do. So everybody will be fighting for the jobs to go. So the youngest one will usually will not get it. So you just got to fight yourself to go to the job. Yeah.
Subhanallah.
So the culture has a lot of accountability. I think the people are actually the training program they give is they really train the engineers to be really to know what they do. Yeah. However, they in terms of ethics, yeah, okay, they in terms of anti-bribery and all that, that's all good. But in terms of like collaboration, in terms of all these things is actually it's almost non-existent. It's you just got to fight your way to earn your job. Yeah. So people tend to toughen up throughout the years, but they don't really make good friends in the organization. Yeah. You only find like one or two guys which you call friends. Others is just colleagues. Yeah. But that's how they survive. Yeah.
So I would imagine if they were to join the same company that Reza joined, they will have a culture shock.
Yeah.
Indeed. Bully was rampant actually in my previous company, and that's you can just go through YouTube and you can see all those bullying videos by this organization, and it's really funny. But I can just imagine the kind of guys who had to go through this kind of experience must be traumatizing. Yeah.
What are some form of the bullies? The forms of bullying that are rampant in some companies.
Yep.
Because sometimes, because we have sometimes when people say bully, they always think physical bullying, right? But it may be emotional bullying or even in most cases verbal, right?
Yep. Yeah. But they make them do like silly things, and it's not physically aggressive, but they had to do silly things, and after realizing that the mistakes,
like embarrassing them kind of thing.
Very embarrassing. So
wow.
So it's not like mental bullying.
This is a toxic working environment.
Yeah, indeed, yes. So they had that. It's quite and it's well practiced throughout the years. The bosses do it. They got it before.
It's like a culture,
and to the point, like the one particular bully tricks, it's actually participated by the whole base.
Subhanallah.
It's really funny.
What? Sorry.
The whole base actually cooperated indirectly for that kind of bully, a particular
elaborate
bully.
Elaborate kind of prank.
Elaborate. It's like points. Yeah.
Subhanallah. Wow.
So they have that. Yeah.
Should we cancel them right now?
That's interesting you said that, because this was before the age of social media, isn't it? Imagine these days how they would have it, isn't it?
Yep. I think that was at the start of the booming of social media. The 2007, there was the Facebook.
There was Friendster.
Friendster,
yeah.
I know you didn't mention the company name, but I think I can guess, but I don't want to say what it is.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who was seconded to that company, and I didn't meet him for a few years. But after he extended his duties at the company for a few years, I noticed his personality changed. He became very aggressive.
Oh.
Yes. Most people become aggressive after joining that company.
What about you, Amir?
Alhamdulillah. I have good friends. Alhamdulillah. I have good family and good friends.
You see,
mashallah.
I think it's important, right, to have a good friend at the office
Oh, absolutely.
Not much,
yeah,
just
yeah.
maybe 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
support
just
system.
just a support system,
Yeah.
charging our motivation or to share
Yeah,
I
yeah,
some.
true.
agree. I
That's
agree
right.
with that.
You know what? One thing funny, is actually in my university years, I really, really wanted to work for this company. Really wanted,
Wow.
I went high and low digging for information, how to pass the interview, what sort of work they do, things like I was really, this is like my primary goal of work, So like for instance, like so I always give you this advice, like if for instance, if you want to choose a driver to work, for to choose a career path, sometimes
Right.
maybe it's not just based on one factor. It's not just financial factor. It's not just based passion. It's not just based on status. You should maybe take a step back and ask other people what they think of that company.
Yeah,
Because you
that's a
might.
good point actually.
Did you ask anyone
Right.
about
I
it?
asked, but it's like for me, I had that bias. So when guy I asked few guys,
Okay.
Cinta
then the
buta.
guys told me, oh no, that I work there.
Blinded by love for that
That's
Blind
company.
right.
love, yeah.
Then you have this feeling like
Blind by love.
when they tell me like, oh, this is like this, the company is like that, bro, maybe you're not meant for that company.
No way, right?
So the guy give me a look like, this kid is maybe he should try it firsthand.
Yeah, because I think if we're talking about the same company, the way they portray themselves is like they only hire the best of the best. That they kind of they
Something
have
like
that kind of they have that kind of image, doesn't it?
yeah.
So what are the significance? So I think somebody mentioned just now about their boss. So what are some significant experiences from your first bosses? What do you remember about your first superiors? Maybe just go around in this. So for example, one thing I remember about my superior, it's interesting. Like back then, I thought he was a pretty good boss. So he was competent. He communicated well. He jived well with other departments. But one of the things I realized is he never set his expectations for me. He doesn't give me feedback. He doesn't put targets for me. And I always sort of justified it by saying that number one, he's too busy. So I was justifying on his behalf. So I was thinking that, maybe there's like 30 staff under him. So that's why I'm probably not he doesn't spend time on me. And secondly, I thought, okay, because I'm the new guy. So that's why he's not spending time with me. But the next year, also I'm not the new guy anymore, but he's still doing the same thing. So I started to realize that it's a pattern. And then after time goes by, then I started to look back and I thought about it. Is this shouldn't be the way we should treat our fresh graduates? And then when I look back, I don't think this was the best way to manage it. Because what that did is that made me feel insignificant and that my task basically didn't matter. Because you don't communicate your expectations. You're kind of just hiring people, kind of like what I told you guys, like, what should I do with you? That kind of approach. So, yeah, I mean, looking back, you might look at somebody as a performer, him by himself, but how he manages the team and how he leads a team, that's another aspect that we sometimes don't really see as fresh graduates when we look back. So yeah, that's just some of my reflections on my first boss. How about you guys? Like any significant experiences with your superiors?
Yeah, I've seen like from two different companies. I think a lot of bosses, they act based on the company's DNA. Because and the company's DNA is built by the support system, HR and things and legal things like this. On my current company, I find a very structured system on how the boss should assist and support their subordinate, because they have this one particular tool which I find it very powerful, because they have a yearly survey that your subordinate is supposed to rank his supervisor.
Okay.
And then all the supervisor will compare who has the worst and the best feedback from this subordinate. So there's a drive
subordinates are ranking the supervisor.
Indeed, yes.
The other way around is usually the case.
So they have that. I think that is a good tool,
Right.
Just like a check and balance for the supervisor. But on my first company, completely, we don't have this. Yeah. It's just, you come to work. I'm not supposed to babysit you. You're an adult. I'm an adult. Yep. You got a paycheck. You need to fulfill your task. Do it.
Every man.
You want to learn? You go to the training. You want to learn? Yeah. Go to the training school. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. It's quite challenging because if you think about it, if you don't manage expectations well, sometimes you see the thing is when the way you behave can subconsciously create this people working in silo. When you don't set targets that allow them to collaborate, so people kind of just work within their own circles and just focus on their own thing and not care about everything else. So you're not really creating teams. You're just like just getting the job done. So that's kind of the feel that I got from my experience on my first superior.
And also like I think certain industry, it's a small industry, yeah. Maybe this year you're his subordinate, but later on maybe you resign and you become his client. And I've seen that a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that so I've seen some of my colleagues who had mean boss in the previous employment, and now his boss comes to him and he's a client now, and his boss comes to him as a vendor. So it's really awkward, yeah. So sometimes what goes around comes around again, yeah. So you just have to be mindful of that.
It happens to me right now. Okay.
MashaAllah.
I'm the client and my
ex-boss. Oh wow. Oh, mashallah.
Quite hard because
awkward
moment.
Sure.
But
yeah, these are very important lessons.
Yeah. But alhamdulillah, he was a good boss. But I got two ex-bosses.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
Oh, subhanallah. Yeah, these are very good lessons. I mean, in general, as Muslims, we should always treat people in the best way. Everyone is fellow slave of Allah, especially if they're fellow Muslims. They are your brother in Islam. And sometimes the thinking that if you are a non-Muslim, like if you treat people, what goes around comes around. That's the saying, isn't it? But as Muslims, it's not about what comes around. It's about how you will be accountable on how you treat other human beings.
You will be accountable anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. You'll be accountable anyway. So it's interesting, like, because life, you go through different cycles in life and you have no idea how people end up. So, and there's an important phrase, like that impression you get from people. I don't know about you, but I always remember the people who gave me a significant impact in terms of the emotion. I still remember that first meeting with them. The good and the bad. So the bad, I already told you, my supervisor. So that was a pretty impactful thing. But even the good ones as well. There are some people that you meet, the first impression, you feel inspired, you feel excited. And those people you remember, even after you haven't met them for many, many years. So what that taught me is like the way you treat the new guy, the interns, it's actually a very, very significant thing. You may see it as just another guy coming in the office, but to them, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new experience. Yeah, so I think it's very important for us to remind ourselves on how we treat things. That Allah will hold us accountable for that, subhanallah. Right, so let's move on to the last section, and that's about what would you give some advice for the fresh graduates today? What are some, maybe one or two super important stuff that you feel should be cultivated amongst our young generation? So I'll start with Aziz.
I think I would advise my graduate self, my fresh graduate self.
Sure.
I think I have 2 points. I think I would like to borrow a concept that I read few months back. I think it's the book titled The Art of Learning by Josh Wetkin. He was a chess international master at the age of 16 and a Tai Chi world champion. Not
chess and Tai Chi.
Yeah, chess and Tai Chi at the age, Tai Chi world champion at the age of 28. Was like, wow. Okay, this concept was like investment in loss, meaning is giving yourself to the learning process. It's like when you learn martial arts, if you want to be a great fighter, you must learn to take some hits, right? Some jab, some hooks.
Okay.
Yeah, before you be a master. So I think a fresh graduate with the pump up motivation, I just graduate, right? I can give impact to my company, right?
Right.
That mentality, but I think that they should release some of their ego, just enough to get to be tossed
here or there, just for a while, just to get the to give yourself a time to learn. I mean, I have a subordinate before just 2 years back that Aziz, I'm an engineer. I don't want to do this, and she was 2 months in the company.
Wow,
I don't want to do this printing job. I was like,
millennials.
Millennials.
And I was glad she resigned in the 5th month. Alhamdulillah.
Oh wow, she resigned.
Yeah, because I think engineers should experience this kind of thing. Just print something, do the writing job, right? Okay.
You're never too big for a task, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Subhanallah.
Exactly.
Because it's office skill. Okay, I think there are periods in which performance doesn't matter. Yep, have a beginner mind. Just absorb the good and the bad, and think how you can make things better later. I mean, you can learn which loophole you can fill in the task. And my second advice I would give to myself is that I would say, please learn the art of effective communicating.
Wow.
Through
Hey,
speaking
brilliant.
or through writing. And I think I need to learn the art of negotiation from Brother Amir and Faisal, I think.
Yeah. All of us,
Right.
all of us do.
Yeah, I think, communication is 90%
Key.
of job, 10% of, I think, other things. Yep.
True.
Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Very good. Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Okay, so Amir, and some advice for our young guns out there.
Okay, mashallah. I think the advice I like to give is actually it's an evergreen advice.
Right.
Essentially, it's by Ibn Qayyum and Sheikh Muhammad Wahab use this advice as well in a lot of his introduction in some of his books. Which is like a happy life. For you to have a happy life, it's 3 things. It's sabar, syukur, and istighfar. So like in first of all syukur. So like we should be give syukur to all the nikmat that Allah have given us. And also never expect any goodness coming from anyone. So we have that mindset. Nobody's going to do buy you for lunch. Nobody's going to cut you slack. Nobody's going to do that. And if somebody does that for you, be thankful to him. Say thank you to him. Remember him. Have a good maintain that rapport, relationship with him. So, but then don't expect goodness from anyone. Only all good is all from Allah. So that you build quite a resilient mindset. And you also like build yourself for disappointment. And second, in terms of sabar, it's of course in handling your responsibility itself, in handling that itself requires a lot of amount of sabar, to do the work itself. And also if you couple with if you have difficult personalities in the office, just have sabar. If sometimes if a certain nature of work, it's impossible not to be in an argument. But if you're in that argument, never escalate it. So for instance, if the argument is in an email, keep it in the email. If the argument is verbal, keep it verbal. Do not don't argument in the email goes. The argument is in an email, but you make it verbal. Or argument is verbal, you make it physical. Don't do that.
You make it in Twitter.
Keep it at that level, and if you need to reply to anything harsh in the email, just take a walk down the water cooler, down the corridor, drink some water, come back. Then rewrite your email.
That's why they call it a water cooler, isn't it?
Indeed.
I always do that, brother.
Oh yeah? No way. Okay. Very good. Syukur, sabar. Yep.
And then like if you have disappointment, because sometimes people don't put so much trust in your bosses and everything, because they will definitely disappoint you, especially in the appraisal. So just remain calm. Rizki is all from Allah. Do not be disappointed. I'm doing this because Allah told the Muslim to work. That's my main intention. If Allah destined for a good appraisal, a good bonus, alhamdulillah, and say thank you to your boss as well and your colleagues to help you out. But if you don't get it, have patience, and also have patience to build your skill as well.
Sorry, have the patience what?
To build up your skill. So
build up your skill.
Even my not millennials, even my time. We have this idea that the world actually owes us something. You know, like I'm here
Yeah, it's true.
to be the next
We have
biggest
that
thing
mindset,
in the
yeah.
industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
so you,
The next
so you want to
What
learn
term
as
we use
much
for that?
thing. Sorry.
What term we use for that?
As if the world owes you something. You come
Yeah.
here to be the big guns in your corporation.
Entitlement mindset, is it?
Entitlement
Oh,
mindset.
yeah.
Okay.
So when you want to learn at that time, you want to learn every single thing, like from A to Z. Yeah, but at the end of the
Sure.
day, you might have all that learnings, but how much will it be applied? Yeah. Because
Yeah.
what is taken at a whole and quickly will also be lost at a whole quickly. So
Subhanallah.
have a structured progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes also it's not just education; it's also experience. So that value that both. Yeah. So don't not to say do not pay attention, but make it gradual and consistent instead of steep, and then you might lose hold of every single thing. Yeah. And
Awesome. Very good.
and also istighfar. For instance, you're always going to be caught in so many difficult situations in at work. Yeah. Like team building is one of it. Sometimes you illicit dealings. You wanna get away
Oh,
from things like this. Yeah. Sometimes
yeah.
you might fall in the shubahat zone. Try your best to take it out
Yeah.
to excuse yourself from things like this. And if we are human and we make istighfar, and maybe because maybe we don't do istighfar, that's why Allah closed some of the doors to sustenance for us. Yeah. So
Subhanallah.
yeah. So that's the three things. Yeah. Ibn Qayyum always say about happy life, and Sheikh Ahmad Wahab include that in I think two of his books in the introduction section about these three things.
MashaAllah.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah. Excellent. Barakallah fiqh.
Perfect.
Okay, so and Syahmi, some advice for our fresh
Yeah.
graduates.
Okay, so the advice I would give to our fresh graduates would be the advice I would give to my younger self back then when I just started working, my aimless younger self.
Right.
So yeah, so number one, I would say to myself that please create that high aspiration within yourself, because without high aspiration, you can't go, and you will basically be good or be cool or settle for low goals and low aspirations. You would be settled for just average. Average is good, but just below average is, well, something is wrong lah. For example, when you do your job, try to think, why do you work? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has told you. Because back then I was already married, alhamdulillah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us men to provide for the woman. So if we have this niyyah in our hearts, and inshallah it's to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is one of the forms of high aspiration, because you see the goal to be beyond only worldly matter, worldly life. You see the goal that you will get something, you will receive a grand prize from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of the day on Yawmul Qiyamah, inshallah. So have high aspiration, and this could not be obtained unless through knowledge seeking. So, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in hadith, he said, "Talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslim." He said, to seek knowledge, the knowledge of the Deen is fard, or obligatory for all Muslims, in fact, right? And in another hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, then he said, the famous hadith, man salaka tariqan yaltamisu fihi ilman sahalallahu lahu bihi tariqan ila al-jannah, right? So whoever seeks Islamic knowledge, the knowledge of the Deen that will bring you peace in this life and the next life, Allah will make it easy for you to move and to obtain Jannah. Subhanallah. This should be our goal. So when we learn about Deen, and then we know these things, like, okay, if we work with good intentions, you will surely be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only in this life, especially in the hereafter, right? So this is number one. Have that high aspiration. Yeah. If only my younger self could hear this, So have high aspiration. Number two, because we all have that some point in our life we we have experienced some sort of we would like to please people, right? You become some sort of a yes man to everyone, right?
Very good,
So
yeah.
this was a very very bad characteristic that I had, and maybe I still have it in myself, but I try to get rid of it.
I think it's a Malaysian thing lah, akhi.
It's a Malaysian thing, yeah. It's a Malaysian thing. True.
It's an Asian thing. It's an Asian thing.
Yeah, but more. I think it's
Asian
more
thing, yeah.
Malaysian, right? I don't know. Wallahu alam. So
Yeah.
I would say to the fresh grads, you don't have to follow what you have your own principles. Stick to it,
Very good.
and
very
your
good.
principles, it has to be based on what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says in the Quran and what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam he said in his Sunnah. And as Ibn Taymiyyah, he said in his Majmu' al-Fatawa, he said, وَأَلَمْ أَنَّ كُلَّ مَا نُحِبُّ شَيْئًا لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ, he said, فَلَا بُدَّ أَنْ يَضُرَّهُ مَحْبُوبُهُ. He said, know that, O people, everything that you love besides Allah, know that thing, it will endanger you at the end of the day. It will definitely endanger you. And this is based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, "Man iltamasa ridha an-nasi bi sakhatillah sakhatallahu anhu wa askhata anhu an-nas." Whoever tries to seek the pleasure of all people, and in doing so enrages Allah, Allah will be angry with him. Okay, get this, Allah will be angry with him, and he will make the people angry with him.
Okay, so the people you're trying to please are the one who
Yes, exactly.
be annoyed with you in the end.
Yeah. We see this every day. Subhanallah, in family members and in colleagues, right? We see this.
Subhanallah.
We get annoyed with some people who try to please, who are people pleasers, right? So we get annoyed with them. So this is a reality that we have to face. So that's number 2. And number 3, in terms of technical, more towards the technical side, I would say whenever advice and wisdom are given by our seniors or our boss or whoever is above or even beyond us, always pay attention to them attentively, and if you can have a pen and paper and write those advices down, because you don't know when you might it might be helpful for you. For example, just a simple example, when I was working in one of the pizza stores in Shah Alam, I was clueless. I know the theory. The theory I revised a few times, but to act upon it, for example, like how do you clean this big pizza machine, right? Pizza oven. So I know the theory, but I didn't know how to do it. So one of my seniors, she told me, okay, this is how you do it. You open this up. Yeah, I know this, but when you see it, and then when from the experiences that she had, and she showed me in front of my eyes how to do it, then subhanallah, I know how to do it, right? Yeah, so it has to be hands-on, practical, and these things you have to jot down. Or if you have a memory like Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, then it's okay. Right? So that's number 3. What else? I think that's it. And maybe number 4. Try to. This will be the last point. Probably try to lower your ego. Like I think it's Brother Aziz or Brother Amir who said something like if you have that entitlement mindset, right? You would think that this task doesn't befit me. I'm too good for this. So just go. Even if your boss demands a cup of coffee from you, just go ahead. Why not, right? Plus have the good intention, so that you will be rewarded for that. Not only just for the sake of people seeing you, this guy is such a good lad, such a good sport, right? But in fact, you will be rewarded by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. For that, that would be the 4 points that I would advise myself, and I would advise the fresh grads to always bear in mind, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam.
Very good. Mashallah, barakallah feek.
Inshallah.
Okay, and Reza.
Right, so similar to what Syahmi said, in regards to let's say talking about what I would say to my old self back then is make use of your high spirits. Usually, when you are a fresh grad, you enter the workforce with a very clean slate and like quite a high level of determination. And keep in mind of that and basically look for a mentor or a good role model within your company that you can really learn from.
MashaAllah, sahih.
Basically, this is what it's like a shortcut of understanding what's around you. Like, for example, what
that's a good one, yeah.
Akhi Faisal said before, that he learned a lot from his consultants. Basically, actually in the workplace, as seniors as well, we should be that good role model and the mentor to people who enter the workforce.
Very good point. Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, as a fresh grad before, I was like looking for that one person who I just be with and just learn from. But alhamdulillah, I got it from various people, but there's no one person who just like stuck his neck out and say like, okay, I'll teach you whatever you need to know, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. So and nowadays I try to practice this because I know what it means for a fresh graduate to have someone who they can just ask whatever they want or whatever that comes to mind, no matter how significant or insignificant the question is. So yeah, I mean, alhamdulillah, what I try to do now, because when you do become a mentor to someone, you actually learn better as well.
Yeah, that's true,
Exactly.
man. Yeah,
It's like you're reinforcing your knowledge, and at the same time, you're giving that person someone to look up to and to feel significant. For example, you can also build up his confidence or also build his let's say capability, so that you can see a person grow. So inshallah, this is quite a good process, and I think it's also something that is a means of beneficial knowledge, inshallah, is one of the things that you pass down, that every time the person uses it, they benefit from it, and you also benefit.
Yeah, that's a good thinking, actually. Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Yeah. So basically, nothing goes to waste. Like when you expend that effort to teach someone, you're not just wasting your energy or wasting your let's say speech or something like this. So just keep in mind that they are benefiting, especially the fresh graduates, and it really has a big impact on their learning and their future direction. So
I really like that point. Basically, you want to be the senior that you've always wanted.
Yes, exactly.
MashaAllah.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is one really big point, I think, that we as people who have been in the workforce for quite some time can try to practice lah, especially people who just entered the office. Yeah. So that's my take points from the whole session, I think.
Look for mentors.
MashaAllah.
I think we need
inshallah.
mentors until
Effective mentor.
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
Even
That's
until
true.
now, we need mentors, right?
Exactly.
That's true, actually. We do, yeah.
That's right.
Yes, exactly. So yeah.
Okay,
So,
mashallah.
Faisal,
Jazakallah khair.
your turn.
Faisal, we need
Okay, inshallah. So I tried to choose basically 2 bits of advice that I feel are very significant for newcomers, for fresh graduates. So it comes down to 2. So number 1 is cultivate what I call this white belt mentality. And number 2 is your EQ, your emotional intelligence. Really develop that. So first of all, what does it mean by white belt mentality? So basically, you should always have this curiosity to always want to learn new things. So basically, if you're a white belt, I mean, you're not master of anything. You're basically the new guy. And it's okay to be like that. You don't have to have this kind of ego and realize that, oh, wait a minute, I graduated first class. They should train me. No. You go on the ground, And I really like that point. People are repeating this statement. Don't have an entitlement mindset. That's exactly what I wrote as well. Don't have that kind of thing. Like expect people to teach you. Like you go to them. Even though I remember a statement from Ibn Abbas. He was waiting outside of the houses of some companions, and then they were like, "Oh, he's cousin of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Why did you tell me you're outside?" He says, "No, we have to go to knowledge. Knowledge doesn't come to us."
Inshallah.
Subhanallah. So we should have that kind of mentality. And also when it comes to not having a entitlement mindset, it's also about, like when you say white belt mentality, is treat people well. Don't expect people to treat you well. And this is a problem that I see. Sometimes people treat others well just because they are superior, just because they have a higher rank than you. And then when you get to that rank, you don't treat people in that, you treat people in a bad way. That's very wrong. So that's something that I've always tried to do. Like just be nice to people, the non-executives, and then these relationships become something that is very. It gives you a lot of motivation to come to work, to know that
Yeah.
people greet you. It's a different thing. So on top of the stresses that you face, and also when you have this kind of white belt mentality, what this also means is you should always be ready to change and adapt and not stick to just one set of skills. Because you're a white belt, right? You have to learn a lot of stuff. So one of the mistakes that I've seen about this my entitlement mindset is that they think that they graduated in a certain field and therefore their skills have to be utilized there. And so these other skills, they don't really see it. So for example, you have to do like 5 different skill sets. These 2 skill sets, they see it as something like, oh, this is not really my job. So they don't really cultivate that skill. So what I realized is that sometimes those skills can be useful much later. So for example, myself, I'm a process engineer, but I was assigned to to do a project management task for like 2 years. Completely off. Like basically my development was completely stalled at that time. So when I came back, a lot of people were saying that, oh, rugi, it's a loss for you because you don't get to develop in your field. But I developed in that project engineering skills. Like I was so interested in it in such a way that I actually got that allowed me to get a project management professional certification. And even until today, being in my project team, there's no one else in my team that has that certification. So
MashaAllah.
that's actually a life skill. Like back then,
Yeah.
it looked like a disadvantage. But now looking back, because I thought that, oh, this was something that I have to do well, then I realized that, oh, it's an advantage for me until today. So
MashaAllah.
one of the things I learned as well, like learn from everyone. Like don't, even your juniors. I'm gonna emphasize this, even your juniors. So I realized that, like, see, I'm not a gifted engineer. I actually kind of secretly envy those who come and then they just can hit the ground running. They know exactly what to do. And I'm like, man, these guys, can you teach me how you do this? I can actually sit down with my juniors.
I think they should meet the kakak just now.
What do you guys have for lunch?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't shy away from that. I actually ask them like, why don't you teach me? So yeah, just try to have this kind of mindset. Like always ask people and always have this curiosity to learn. You know, I've coached a few, I've mentored a few interns and a few fresh grads during my time. And when I look back, the best interns are those who are always bugging you with questions. It's kind of annoying in a sense, but because you also want to develop them, but you also like, because they're so eager, like you're like, wow, this is awesome, man. So you actually have a huge degree of respect for them. And so that's something that I feel that's very significant. And also, if you have this sort of white belt mentality, you should never get complacent. So this is very important. Some people, they do a job for a few years, they think they kind of know, they have this kind of know-it-all. So we should remind ourselves that you're never perfect in what you do. So what I do is like, I try to share knowledge, not because I'm good at it, but because I want to show people this is what I've done. And if there's a better way, please tell me, because I don't want to short sendiri. I don't want to just be in my own world.
So, Akhi, how do you share it? Do you make a presentation or?
Yeah, I do. So that's the typical. So what I'll do is like, because I actually just organize a knowledge sharing session, or like a Friday afternoon, 1 hour. What do you guys think? Okay, come, let's come. I just
Did you initiate it, or it's a company? Do you initiate it, or it's a company? I think a company policy.
They encourage it, but they don't systemize it. So what I do is like, okay, you encourage it, I do lah. So
okay,
just trigger that.
Give me an idea.
And also, I
This
think
shyness.
Sorry.
Sorry. Coming back to that point where the intern who bugs you are usually the most successful, right?
Oh yeah, they're the best interns.
Yeah, when I see looking back in the classes in Medina, for instance, the mashayikh, they always say, "Oh, Malaysian, you know." And then they just said, "Oh, you guys are Malaysians, huh? You guys are very tawadu, very shy people." They said.
Very shy.
So, but I think that's not a praise from him. But in fact, I think that's
I see.
a dham.
Something else. Yeah.
Wow.
Because there's a hadith, right? There's an athar from in Sahih Muslim where Aisha radiallahu anha she praised the woman of Ansar, right? For asking questions. Shyness did not prevent them from asking questions that is related to the deen. So in fact, shyness is all good, but except in asking the questions regarding to your deen, that's not good.
Very good.
Or the work that you are the task that you are asked to do or stuff like that. So I think you should ask, but this is a problem that likes many of people until today, especially Malaysians, because based on what the mashayikh, what they say, right? So in fact, it's something that I'm struggling with as well until today. Alhamdulillah, but now I'm slowly getting that away from myself, trying to get rid of that shyness, that unnecessary shyness, right? But
right.
yeah, but Wallahu alam, I think that's very good. The encouragement to ask questions.
Yeah, since you mentioned that, I realized that the past few years, this is one skill that I developed over the years, that skill to ask questions. I think it's one of the most important life skills. Yeah. Because if by doing the right questions, it's not only a way to learn, but you actually build a lot of relationships through that as well.
Okay.
And like I shared with you guys, like I engaged the consultants, I asked them how they do it. I still do that until today. But you see, over time, your questions improve.
Sahih.
That's the point.
You need to learn the art of asking questions.
Yeah.
The right questions at the right time, the way you phrase your questions. All these and it's an art.
Exactly.
I heard this quote. I heard this quote. I think that the companions, the Salaf, they were so successful because they challenge every norm of society, but they hold firm to the Quran and Sunnah. Whereby the people of later years, they challenge everything in the Quran and the Sunnah, and they hold firm to all society, whatever norms of society. So because of that, they're not successful.
Wow, very profound, man.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, subhanallah. And you see, there's one thing I learned about being in the corporate world after these 12 years. Actually, people always appreciate good students. So if you always show this willingness to learn, actually people are more receptive to that. It's kind of counterintuitive. People think like you kind of have to have this kind of big boss persona, asking questions, asking like this tough guy kind of thing to earn respect. But that might earn you some degree of fear for a while. But in truth, it doesn't build relationships. It actually kind of burns them. Yeah, so that's something I kind of learned over the years. And to have this kind of white belt mentality, I also, because I always, like I told you guys, I always kind of envy those guys who have a very skill in engineering. So I'm not very good at that. So I overcompensate by improving my communication skills. So I overcompensate by my presentation skills. And so I really go for that. So that's actually my second piece of advice, which is improve your EQ, your emotional intelligence. You see, the thing is, this EQ thing, they never teach you this in university. But it's so important because this skill is what gets you to get to know people. And as a leader, this is something that you can get more from people. This is what can allow you to collaborate well. And it's not just in your professional life, but also in your personal life. And this is what kind of life skills that even if you don't work at all in your entire life, even if you just within your family life, it's still something super important. It's going to be with you until you die. But the good news is EQ and this emotional intelligence, it can be learned. So people think that EQ is something like, oh, you either have it or you don't have it. But it's not true. You can develop it. So because I when I look back, people, IQ used to be all the craze. I used to grow up with like, oh, these guys got high IQ, these Mensa scores, all these things.
Of course.
Right? And then we look at all these like A+ students like, whoa, gifted, So, and then, but now that I look back, I mean, the guys who get really far are those with this very strong kind of EQ. So, what is EQ? I mean, in a nutshell, EQ is basically about how you manage your emotion, your own emotions. So that's number one, and also how you manage other people's emotions. So that include things like, so I'm just quoting here: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy. So that's the big one: empathy and social skills. So when I look back, like there are people who not necessarily their university scores may not be the best, but because they take an active effort to EQ, I'm guessing it's overcompensation, like my case. So when they try to overcompensate the lack of skills that they feel in other areas, actually they get an edge a lot in the organization. Now I compare that to some people who they have a very strong university score. They may be brilliant. They may have these medal, first class honors, that kind of thing. But they what that does to them is they feel like they're superior than others. I don't have to do this stuff. Yeah, so that doesn't make them good team players, and it doesn't make them good bosses also, because they feel like they're the smartest guy in the room. So that doesn't make them very effective leaders. So that's just I mean, I'm not saying everyone is like that, but the tendency is like that. So just something that we should inculcate in ourselves, like how we can treat other people. And have you read the book Enjoy Your Life by Dr. Al-Arifi? Have you heard of the book?
Yeah,
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 I
we
heard
heard
it,
it.
but never.
It's an amazing book because it's about the art of how the Prophet ﷺ dealt
So
with different people. And the thing is, he was like, it's masterclass in people skills, right? That's how he can get the best out of his companions, radiallahu anhum. If you think about it, like as human beings, he dealt with them in a way that can just get the best skills and the best qualities from them. So these kinds of things sometimes we kind of overlook. So that's just something that I try to remind myself. These are the two major skills. I
inshallah.
think I
Inshallah.
yeah, I think I
That's great, mashallah.
Mashallah.
I think I cheated a bit. It's two, but it's like two big ones.
Subs 2.1, 2.3.
2.3. Yeah, so I copped out a bit on that one. But yeah, so alhamdulillah, so it was
Alhamdulillah.
quite an interesting experience. So jazakumullah khairan, thank you for sharing.
Yakum.
So
Yeah.
that brings us to the end of our discussion for this session, inshallah. Okay. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Jazakumullahu khairan for listening. Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you feel your family or your friends might get value from the discussion, don't keep it to yourself. Please share it. Let's create a community of high inspiring Muslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.